Good morning, students. Now let's continue our chapter number 4, Standard 7, Mughal Empire Establishment and Extension. Now, how were the relations of Mughals with other rulers? When Humayun was defeated twice by Sher Shah and he had to escape for 15 years in order to save his life, then the Hindu rulers gave him a shelter. When Humayun had escaped, even the Hindu ruler gave him a shelter and saved his life. Therefore, their culture was reflected in the upbringing of Akbar. He took the help of Hindu rulers when he ascended the throne. Means Hindu ruler at that time was very important in Mughals empire and the good relation with the Hindu and Mughals. He knew that he would not be able to rule in India if he ignored Rajput rulers. Therefore, he maintained good relation with the Rajput rulers and won their confidence. The rulers who did not accept his authority had to face him. That is the policy of the Akbar. The rulers of Sisodiya rules did not accept his rule and had many confrontations with him. Now, tradition of inheritance. The king was responsible for appointing the successor of the kingdom, and it would usually be a oldest son. During the Mughal rule, all the sons would get an equal share of the empire. This kind of hierarchy was implemented during Humayun reign. Means all the kings comes to in empire through hierarchy. After that, rulers conspired against each other for the throne. Brothers would quarrel with one another for the throne, and whoever won ascended the throne of Delhi. Now, administrative system of Mughal Empire. How were the administrative systems of Mughal Empire? The Subedari system. Now the question is, what is Subedari? So kingdom divided into the various sections that and the sections given to the Suba for better administration, that is called Subedari system. The Subedari system was implemented during the Mughal period. Akbar divided his kingdom into 15 sections. How many sections? 15 sections. Each section was known as the Suba or provisions. The subsection of the Suba was called government and the sub was known as a Pargana. The subsection of Suba was called government and the sub was known as a Pargana. The head of each Pargana was called Amir, who would collect the revenue. And who would collect the revenue? Suppose to be asked in exam this question, who collect the revenue? Amir collect the revenue. There were gram panchayats in village and the head was known as the Patel. Look at these things. Gram panchayat also exists in the Mughal administrative system. And the head of the village called Patel, Chaudhary, Mukaddam, etc. Now a time the head of the village is called Sarpanch. Thus, during that time, various executives were appointed. During Akbar reign, pilgrim tax was not levied. Thus, there would be huge crowds in the pilgrim center. Akbar was considered to be a most tolerant and benevolent king among the Mughal rulers. He regularly organized religious meets in a prayer hall at Sikri. It was also called discussion hall, and religious matters were discussed there. Representatives from all religions attended the meeting. The royal court was adorned by scholars. And one of the most important thing is there have been 9 gems of existence in Akbar court. Who they are, who they were. The 9 gems of Akbar's court were Todarmal, the revenue minister, Mansingh, the leader of Daksh army, Abu Fazl, the historian and writer of Ain-e-Akbari and Akbarnama, Tansen, the famous singer, Maula Dopaija, the clever and jolly courtier, Mahesh Das Birbal. Have you ever listened about Birbal, a very clever person, the quick-witted courtier and trickster, Hammam, the famous Vaidya physician, Faizi, the renowned poet, and Abdul Rahim, the Hindi verse writer. Here just think to know about the various position in Mughal period. Diwan, the head of the revenue department. Bakshi, vigilance officer of the finance department. Sadra, vigilance officer who look after religions, donation, charitable food, etc. Qazi, known as a judge. Fauzdar, head of the government. Kotwal, the executive officer who looks after law and order, means police. Mere Bahar, controller and tax collector at ports, octroi boards, etc. Senapati, the leader of royal army. The head was usually the king himself. That's Senapati. That is the court of Akbar. Now let's see about the Sher-Shah Suri. Sher-Shah Suri belongs to from Survans, Sur dynasty. Sher-Shah Suri was Afghan leader and he was known as a reformer in history. So what are the reforms made by the Sher-Shah? Let's see. Sher-Shah ruled over Delhi for 5 years. How many years? 5 years. He introduced many reforms during this short span and is therefore better known as the reformer than a warrior. With Todarmal's help, he prepared a table for revenue collection based on the type of land and production. Akbar followed the same method for the revenue collection. He removed the toll booth so that there could be free transportation of goods. He constructed roads to increase trade and for the convenience of the pedestrian, among which the famous roads were constructed between Agra and Behrampur, Agra and Marwar, Lahore and Multan. He also planted trees and both the side of the road constructed rest houses. He had set up mint houses to mint silver coins, uniform in weight. He was very strict about discipline of the army and had therefore strictly ordered the army not to harass the villagers or destroy crops while marching. During his reign, kotwals were responsible for arresting criminals. Sher Shah was himself very active and motivated others too by keeping them busy at work. So all the work done by the Sher Shah Suri. That is why he was known as the reformer in Mughal history. Here the picture of Sher Shah Suri. He is inspectioning the constructing of the road.